buying a house, Kelly Jackson, in 2022 is not easy.
No, it isn't.
Selling a house, buying a house is not easy. I would know. I just went through it. Thank goodness. I had the stewardship of Kathy Helbig and her team. She joins us now.
About ready to go again.
No.
Yeah, you're almost unpacked. Time to move again.
That's right.
No. People are under strict orders to take away all phones and everything if I ever talk about moving again. All right, Kathy Helbig, let's talk appraisals, because appraising a house in this market must be crazy, insane.
It is. Pricing a house is crazy, so appraising is crazy also. But you know what people need to keep in mind is that the appraiser is an independent opinion of value that is there to protect either the purchaser or whoever's lending the money on that collateral. So it is not chosen by the buyer, it's chosen by whoever's getting the bank unless it is a cash deal. The problems that we're starting to see, what we got away from is people weren't making it contingent on appraisals, which is the first time in 26 years I ever lived through that.
Right.
So that was crazy. Now that is going away.
Right.
We are seeing appraisal contingencies back in. But the difference is, when we were having appraisal contingencies before, the market was still in a fury. It was still hot and heavy. The appraisers were taking that into account. Now it's kind of like, we're looking at comps that maybe sold 3-4 months ago, but they went under contract a couple months before that. So the appraisers are now starting to get a little bit more conservative. So we're looking at what if you do have an appraisal that comes in that is lower than your purchase price.
Because the data they're looking at was skewed from 6 months ago.
Well, skewed or just a completely different market.
Right.
Because it was when there was crazy offers going on. So we're looking at, they did kind of, because they didn't have great comps when they were doing appraisals either, because they were looking at, the comps 3 months before that were lower, but now people are paying $100,000 over, so they did take that into account. They were taken into future, speculation as to having multiple offers on a contract. Well, now that part is gone.
Right.
So they're going to have to go back and look at the comps that sold before and then go really back to, and you've heard me saying this for a long time, the number that they're starting at versus the number that they sold at.
Right.
So that all is coming into play. And that's why when I was at a house yesterday helping them price, and we're looking at, you cannot be focusing on the lagging indicators. You have to be focusing on what's happening in the now.
Right.
So that is, what is the current list prices? Are those houses selling? What's the days on the market? Those are the type of things that you have to be taking into account right now. The appraisals that are coming to market, some tips for that is we cannot influence an appraiser. And so I've done a lot of recent classes on that. And you can provide them information ahead of time. So that is a very big tip for an agent or a seller that is concerned about your appraised value. Make sure that you have all of your information accurate, your tax information is accurate, your square footage, because that's what they're doing. They're pulling all those reports before they get to your house. So anything that you can get into their hands to make corrections or make sure that they're seeing the right comps, great to have before they get there. Once they've determined a value, there is no communicating with. You have to go through a certain process, and you can only challenge comparables. You can't say, "Well, we need X for the house, so we need you to go." Like that's not gonna work. So you have to base it on: did they make a mistake in the comparables? Did they miss some comparables? And it needs to be more than one. So usually 2, 3 preferred. But before you get there, it is so much harder to get them to change a value once it's been stamped versus providing that information up front. And I think agents have gotten lazy.
Right.
They've pretty much always been lazy in this arena, but then particularly in the last couple of years of really making sure that information is all tied up with a pretty bow before they get there.
Mr. and Mrs. Appraisal, make sure you notice the redone garage. Make sure you notice the downstairs bathroom. Make sure you notice the downstairs living room.
Yes.
So that you can take that into account.
And act quickly. If that appraisal comes in and there's something that's lower and there's something that you think is wrong, you need to act quickly because there's only so much time that you can do a rebuttal on an appraisal. And I've seen complete bathrooms missed, bedrooms missed, square footage has been completely wrong. or they went way out of the neighborhood and took some other comps versus what was right there.
Right.
So you definitely need to know how to read one, study it, and make sure you challenge it in time.
You have to understand what the appraisal is. The appraisal is the eyes and ears of the bank.
Correct.
I'm going to loan you $300,000. I want to make sure your house is worth $300,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. We're thinking now, like we had a debate yesterday, should sellers get an appraisal up front right now? You know, it's kind of like when you say, well, did we get a building inspection up front?
Right.
Now might be a time that you might want to invest in something like that just to get the opinion of the appraiser before you go on the market. Because once an appraiser is called in afterwards, they get a copy of that sale contract. They don't have a sale contract if you're doing it ahead of time.
Right.
So you're kind of getting a real opinion of value without that. Even though it's not supposed to skew, when you see a number there.
But it's a broken system, and I don't know if there's a better one, because what's the value of your house? I just offer. I'll tell you what the offer is. Right. I just made this offer to you. That's how much your house is worth.
Exactly. And that truly is. What a buyer is willing to pay is what a house is worth.
Right. Yeah.
But when you're trying to figure that out on pricing it into the market, every little bit of help of value that is out there that people are going to base their, if it goes back to the appraised value again, because even if the buyer's willing to pay more, if he's getting a loan and it's contingent on that appraisal, he's got to go back to what the bank says.
Right.
Unless he's got a bunch of cash in the bank.
Because you have a partner with the bank.
That's right.
That's exactly right. You're using their money. Well, you know what I learned, Kelly Jackson?
What did you learn, McGraw-Millhaven?
Just call Kathy Helbig.
Exactly.
Buying or selling, it's too confusing. Just call Kathy Helbig. 314-276-SOLD or KathyHelbigGroup.com. Good stuff.
Thank you.